Okay, welcome back. Let us just start our discussions again. Now we are on step 1 of transfer procedures. Now we agreed about only the first sentence so far. Okay, the process is initiated by the state parties with the consent of the concerned communities, groups, and where appropriate individuals. Up to there, we agreed. And then now I would like to open the floor for the rest of the items in step 1. So any comments, please raise your hand. Okay, Poland, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just to be precise, I just want to implicate that the same amendment should be added to the part when we're discussing the transfer from the representative list to the urgent safeguarding from from representative to urgent safeguarding. So the second part of the step 1. And the first bullet point.
Yes, indeed. Okay, thank you very much. Now we have Austria, please.
Hello. I've got one question concerning also from the same text. The third item says that the transfer file is submitted to the evaluation body without a completeness check. And in the end, I think we want to have similar and comparable elements. So we are wondering why the completeness check is not done at this stage, because it would mean that the evaluation body might receive incomplete files. And what are they supposed to do then? Do they have to put them on a referral in order to add the missing text to our files? Or would they enter a dialogue process? So how is this foreseen? Or why not have a completeness check as all the others have as well? Maybe it has to do with the 11 months with the fast on cycle, but maybe we can clarify that. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for the question. Mr. Curtis, please.
Thank you indeed. The idea here is directly linked to trying to fast track within 1 year rather than 2 years. The completeness checks takes time, and the more we get, this is one of the reasons we need to go longer. And given that we felt, and given also the recommendations of experts, that when something goes to the urgent safeguarding list, there is urgency. So we propose to lighter the form and lighter the requirements, but not do that extra step of the completeness check, because we would not be able to do it within the time frame that is given. And so that is the reason, that is in order to allow it to go through a faster track. As to whether perhaps the dialogue option could be an option, and again, we're going to come back to all of this in terms of the workloads and the time available for doing it. But the dialogue option, because it would then go to an evaluation body, could technically be an option also, as with every other file. But I suppose later we'll have to come to issues of how much the evaluation body can absorb. But that is the reason we don't do the completeness check. It's to allow it to go through, straight through.
Thank you for the clarification. With that, Thailand, please.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, it's a mistake. Sorry, I didn't want to ask for the floor.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your clarification. I do not see any hand raised so far. I think this is a very straightforward suggestion, this part. Yeah, step one. Step one.
This is the wrong transfer to the urgent safeguarding list to the representative list.
Yeah, so there are two transfers, two different transfers. One transfer is from the urgent requesting, urgent safeguarding list to representative list in blue, and then there's another one transfer from the representative list to the urgent safeguarding list, and there are different time frameworks. So this is a suggestion, and this is now for adoption, and I don't recognize any hand raised. So can we, Belgium, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to repeat my proposal to delete that option of choosing a year, because it will make things much simpler. And to delete the second part of the sentence, the state parties shall indicate in their periodic report, to just delete that second sentence and use that form of the periodic report as input. So it's to simplify things and to lighten the burden of the Secretariat and everybody else.
Well, thank you for the suggestion, but can we just see it on the screen?
So it's in the second part to delete les états parties indiquent dans le rapport. So to put that, to delete this. But it has a number of implications.
Okay, Mr. Curtis?
Okay, just to understand this properly, what you're suggesting now is that the transfer form is filled out at the same time of submitting the periodic report. Okay, so you understand and must understand. Then that's it. Okay, that means when you do your periodic report, at the same time you do your file. So the deadline for the periodic report, I think, is in December. Okay, so that means the request will have to be done in December and they go automatically. But the reason I'm saying this is because there will be a form that the evaluation body has to evaluate. And that's not the same form as the periodic reporting form at the moment. We could add it to the periodic reporting form, and then a state that wishes to remove will do its periodic report, give an evaluation of its periodic, and at the same time submit the request and not have another process by 31st of March. So that is the suggestion, and we're just so that we are clear. So we still create it, but then we need to say the lighter form needs to be added. We can do that. That's not an operational directive issue, but the lighter form has to be added because to the periodic report as an optional form should a state wish to do so. That is the proposal.
Okay, well, I think the issue has been clarified. Kuwait, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We support the suggestion by Belgium. We think, that will, save time. So we'd like to add Kuwait to the, with Belgium draft amendment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, I do not recognize any other hands raised. So can I assume that this part, step one, is okay with the delegations here? Oh. Sure. Okay. Mr. Curtis wants to make some clarification, please.
Okay, because I understand we're changing the procedure, it's the next paragraph that will be the most critical. Because in fact, what we're saying now is the state party will submit with their periodic report the simplified form for a transfer request, should they wish to do so. And we remove this idea of the, so then the state party, perhaps we need to, I don't know if Belgium would like to propose, or if I may propose, how to align the third paragraph with what was just said.
I think to save time, please, you can make a proposal.
I'm proposing just off the top of my head now, If we have this, and to follow the suggestion forward, then we would put the state party will submit the transfer request form with its periodic report on the element inscribed on the urgent safeguarding list, or on the concerned element. We could just put on the concerned element. And then the rest of it is deleted. Is this? And then, can I go to the next one, please, just to see if this works? Then the transfer file is included in the next 21 months nomination cycle currently in application. Now, unless we skip completeness check. But I think in this case, it might be more useful to have the completeness check. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, this was an effort to align the other parts with the second paragraph. Okay. Well, I just want to have confirmation from Belgium as to whether this is what he wanted to see. But before that, I would like to give the floor to Colombia.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's just a very brief question. Then the cycle, I mean, the reports will be given, let's say, the year before, and they get into the evaluation that starts in March, and then the whole 21 months. It's right? Just the timing, just for the timing. Yeah, so basically it's, let's say, December, March, and the whole 21 months, right? Okay, Colombia would like very much to support the proposal of Belgium. We think it's easier, it's one step less, and it's quite good actually. Let's say December, March, whole 21 monthly. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now, in that case, can I go back to Belgium just to confirm that what you intended is contained here?
I do confirm it, and it also solves it makes the transfer form even light, because a lot of the information will be in the periodic report. You basically only need the consent of communities, groups, and individuals to go along. So it will make things much easier and avoid repeating oneself.
Okay, thank you very much. And our team is nodding very strongly. Yes, that is what he meant as well. Okay, any other views? Poland, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'm glad that the team is nodding to the proposal made by distinguished colleague from Belgium. But I still have one question, and I'm sorry for being such a precise when it comes to the details, but I assume that then whoever will evaluate this nomination form will also have to go back to the periodic report, or just the informations will be repeated in a different form, because this link I didn't understand. So if there's any clarification on this, I would be appreciating.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Curtis.
Okay, I think that's essentially what it will be, and I think what the delegate from Belgium is explaining, that in any case, to do a new file, it will have to be based on what has been done in the form of periodic reporting, but there will need to be additional information. But just to be clear, this gives the option once every 4 years, once you've done a cycle of reporting on your urgent safeguarding plan and the status of the element, to submit at the same time a request for transfer, which becomes a file to go through whatever procedure we'll decide to evaluate it, you will choose for its evaluation. So then means if you choose not to, then you go for another 4 years and to do another cycle. A state, that means every 4 years a state will assess, in essence, the state of its urgent safeguarding element and make a choice whether it feels ready to submit at the same time a file to request the move, or whether it wishes to continue with urgent safeguarding. And that is part of the periodic report. And therefore, it's just, you're right, it means that you don't have to indicate and then resubmit. But you do have to do the work before the 15th of December in order to submit the file. It will not be then afterwards. Yeah, that's the difference. And it is indeed, let's say, less paperwork. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. So can we assume that this step 1 is more or less acceptable? So I don't see any hand raised, so thank you very much. I don't do this because this is a working group, but let me now move to step 2. And in step 2, there are 3 different issues. First of all, we have a composition of the evaluation body members to look at, transfer requests. That's one thing. And another thing is a reduced number of criteria for the examination, for the evaluation. And finally, inclusion in the register of good safeguarding practices. This is particularly relevant if the element is moved from the safeguarding list to the representative list. This is essentially a good practice. So there are 3 points contained here, and I would like to open the floor for comments on those points. Well, I don't see any hand raised, but at least in the first point, the composition of the evaluation body members, we have a choice here. Whether the entire membership as a whole, we look at the file, or in this case, 2 members of the evaluation body will look at the file. Okay, so Belgium to be followed by Poland. Belgium, please.
Thank you very much for allowing me to take the floor again. First, I think it's a good idea to only use 2 members of the evaluation body to do the evaluation, but I would delete the reference to the region, because, for instance, if you have a file on musicology and you have 2 musicologists in the organ, it's wiser to have the option to choose for the expertise rather from the region. So I would delete the reference to the region. And the second part, I do understand in criterion R4 about the groups and individuals that have originally accepted the inscription, but for instance, an individual can die, or I think we make it very difficult to include that part and just to mention, for instance, the community groups and individuals concerned, and that will cover it, because we will get into trouble when something happens to one of those individuals. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for your insight. Can I give the floor to Poland to be followed by Austria? Poland, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We believe that when it comes to the evaluation process, and since we are discussing very precisely about the procedure, to keep the consistency, balance, and transparency of the procedure, Poland wishes to propose an amendment to the point B. We believe that only a few members of the evaluation body should actually evaluate the request for the transfer. And in this sense, we would like to add that the 3 members of the evaluation body would do so, because we believe that the odd composition within the evaluation body will provide an objective and consistent report that will then in the future help the committee members to decide whether the elements should be removed from one list to another. And to have this consistency and objectiveness, we wish to add another expert to this small team within the evaluation body. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Ambassador Magda, can you provide the language?
Sure. Thank you. And so in this sense, we would like to delete the point A and keep point B, and with the wording as follows: 3 members of the evaluation body to be identified by the evaluation body itself. And then in the brackets, among the 3, there will be at least 1 member from the region of the element concerned, at least 1 of the accredited NGO, and at least 1 individual expert. And I think that it will also cover the remark that has been made by a distinguished colleague from Belgium. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, we have the list of speakers. Okay, now we have the list of speakers. The suggestion from Poland is to delete the entire A. So can you also include that? No, the entire A, only A. And also you don't need B.
Not B? Yeah, but you can delete the B.
Yeah, okay. Okay, thank you very much. With that, now Brazil to be followed by Colombia. Brazil, please.
Thank you.
Sorry, Czechia. Brazil to be followed by Czechia. Sorry, Brazil, please.
Thank you, Chair. When I asked the floor, my intention was exactly to refer to the number of members of the evaluation body who for me were very reduced. So I was actually thinking of proposing 4 members, but I fully agree with the proposal made by the distinguished ambassador of Poland. I think 3 is the minimum of members who could take this work. We all understand that all this process will mean a lot of work for the evaluation body, and this we'll have to discuss later, as Mr. Curtis has already pointed out. But we have to keep a minimum of technical framework for implementing all those changes that which we are working on. So that's it. Thank you very much. One last thing regarding the criterion R1. When we read here the updated description of the element addressing the changes in the viability of the element in relation to the original criterion U2. I think we are not in all those criterion mentioned. We have not mentioned the criterion R2, which was, if I remember well, a problematic one. So I don't know if we are taking into consideration that this group should also work on the changing of criterion R2. So we could maybe, once we have a new text for criterion R2, to see also if the new text would maybe be able to be included in the criteria which will be examined. That's it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. On that particular point, Mr. Curtis.
Just to clarify what is being suggested, just to be very clear, the system at the moment is the evaluation body will only evaluate 3 criteria for a transfer, meaning there was an original file for the urgent safeguarding list, which all 5 criteria were suggested, but the transfer is meant to be lighter, okay? Meaning, so what it's saying here, the first point is saying they will need to redescribe the element following its successful safeguarding, which is the reason for it being removed from the urgent safeguarding list. In the original file that was submitted, U2 was the identification of threats which justified its urgent safeguarding. So they have to be addressed in the new R1. Am I hearing that you also want to have a new R2? Because in fact, the R2 indeed is being discussed, and we've had the discussions in the first working group, but I'm unclear if what you're suggesting is you want to also add a new criterion R2 in this transfer, or it's this relationship between R1 and U2, which is not clear. Do you understand? Because at the moment, there is no assessment of R2 of any kind, the new form or the old way in the transfer process. There is an assessment of the previous U2, meaning what it means is when you have to give an updated description of the element, indicating how you've addressed the threats that were identified in the original file, which put it on the urgent safeguarding list. That's what the first point means. Is that, and are you saying you would now like to also include a new R2 as well?
Not at all. I just wanted just to raise the subject for further discussion, maybe just to point out that there is also this pending discussion, which maybe in a further moment would need to be examined. And that's it only. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, I misread the list of speakers. I'm sorry to say this, but Austria comes first before Czechia. So Austria, please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to take up the discussion that Brazil has just started, because we also think that R2 is important, the simplified R2, which we discussed the last time, because we want to include issues of sustainable development and have it kind of made it already a little bit different. So in order to have comparable files then in the end, because then we have a new file on the representative list that should fulfill the same criteria as the rest. And so we would appreciate of also having the points from the new simplified R2 also in these then new transferred elements. So we think that's a good idea. This means, on the other hand, for the elements that go to the new urgent safeguarding list, that in some stage they also have to prove to justify the need for urgent safeguarding. Here it is under U1, but it could, if we take the old criteria, the standard criteria, they would be part of U2 then. But I think it's just important to have the justification for the need for urgent safeguarding at some point, because that's the essence of having the element there. And similarly, for the inclusion in the register of good safeguarding practices, after transferring an element from urgent safeguarding list to the representative, we also propose to have the same mechanism as for the other projects included in the register, like the state party should prepare the dossier rather than someone external, because otherwise we probably would have two different categories of projects in the register. And of course, it would also cause additional costs. So maybe we can consider that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. On your first suggestion, because at this moment in time, it might be difficult to have discussions on R2, the contents of the R2, simplified version of the R2. So can we say, perhaps we will create another dot point there after criterion R1, and then simply say R2 in bracket, because right now I would like to complete discussion the process for the transfer. So whether future simplified R2 should be applicable or not here, maybe we can discuss it later. So can we have this criterion R2 there in bracket, and then deal with other issues for the time being? Would that be okay?
Yeah, discuss it later.
Okay. Yeah, okay, thank you very much. Now, Czechia, please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. En ce qui concerne l'évaluation, la République tchèque serait en fait plutôt en faveur de l'option A, c'est-à-dire que l'organe d'évaluation étudie et évalue dans son intégralité la demande de transfert. Maintenant, peut-être le secrétariat pourrait nous aider et nous expliquer si on irait plutôt avec l'option proposée par la Pologne, 3 membres de l'organe d'évaluation qui font l'évaluation initiale. Qu'est-ce que ça veut dire exactement si à la fin, de toute façon, l'organe d'évaluation dans son intégralité doit faire une recommandation finale? Est-ce que c'est vraiment nécessaire qu'il y ait une pré-évaluation par ces 3 membres si à la fin, de toute façon, l'organe dans son intégralité va discuter de cette demande? Est-ce que ce n'est pas plus simple donc de le faire comme l'organe d'évaluation fait maintenant pour toutes les autres demandes d'inscription? J'espère que je suis assez claire. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Yes, your question is very clear. So I would just like to go back to Poland. This is a very important point. In the original formulation, 2 members of the evaluation body who carry out an initial assessment, which would then be collectively discussed by all members of the evaluation body. That formulation was included. Can I go back to Poland if that part, who carry out an initial assessment, which would then be collectively discussed by all members of the evaluation body, would that be still okay in your formulation? Or do you limit the scope exclusively to 3 members up to the end? Can I just clarify that point, Poland, please? Ambassador Magda?
Yes, of course, Mr. Chair. In this, I think that this was the aim, just to download the amount of work that we put on the evaluation body during this reform of this procedure of the listing mechanisms. And of course, this is only at the stage that the 3 members of the evaluation will do the work, then present to the whole evaluation body, and then the report, the final report will be presented to the committee members. This is my understanding of this.
Okay, thank you very much. In that case, we have to recover what was lost.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
We've got it now.
Okay, good.
Thank you very much, Secretariat. Now it makes much more sense.
Okay, I believe that this has taken care of the concerns expressed by Czechia. Unless you have any further points to make. Czechia?
Oui, merci, Monsieur le Président. En fait, on ne voit pas très bien la différence entre l'option A, où tout l'organe d'évaluation fait l'évaluation, et l'option B, où c'est 3 membres qui présentent à l'organe d'évaluation qui, de toute façon, doit se concerter pour donner une recommandation finale. On ne pense pas que ce processus est plus simple et ça nous paraît au contraire plus compliqué. Donc, on se demande si ce n'est pas mieux que l'organe d'évaluation dans son intégralité évolue la demande de transfert tout de suite. Peut-être Tim pourrait nous éclairer un petit peu là-dessus. On essaie juste de trouver une façon plus simple. Et pour nous, pour l'instant, c'est encore l'option 1, l'organe d'évaluation dans son intégralité, conformément à ses méthodes de travail actuelles, évalue la demande de transfert. Merci.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Curtis.
Thank you, and I'm sorry, je vais répondre en anglais parce qu'il y a des choses techniques et je vais être un peu sûr de ce que je dis, mais I understand the question, and indeed it comes down to the actual functioning of the body. What we're suggesting here, as you know, how the way the body works is every criterion is first assessed independently by every expert, and then they come to a consensus, criterion by criterion by criterion. What is suggested here, and that goes from May to June and then dialogue afterwards. What is suggested here is that not every expert does that intense work of criterion by criterion on their own, but 2 or now 3 will do that work in the March or February to June period. And then come to the September period, we'll present it so that we're not asking all 12 members to read every criterion. Now, there is an element of trust, whether the 12 actually trust the work done. And if there's not, then there will be discussions in September or even in June. But what we're saying, it does alleviate because we're not asking every member to do the same level of work in terms of the detailed assessment of all the criteria, but going to one part of it. It still adds to the overall work, but it doesn't mean, and it also, so then the evaluation body will choose those members, and there's a certain element of trust, and if there are concerns about the evaluation carried out by those 3 members, it still has a chance to pick up, and if they feel it's okay, then it will go straight through. And that is the way it alleviates the work.
Thank you very much. For Czechia, has that clarified your concern?
Merci, oui, ça a clarifié. Merci beaucoup pour cette explication. On ne va pas trop s'attarder là-dessus, mais peut-être quelqu'un de l'organe d'évaluation pourrait nous donner son avis. Est-ce que cette méthode lui paraît efficace? Mais nous allons tout à fait nous aligner au consensus. On ne veut vraiment pas faire trop de... On voudrait juste comprendre bien. Donc, merci beaucoup pour la clarification.
Thank you very much. Now, Lithuania? Yeah, Lithuania to be followed by Kuwait. Lithuania, please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Notre délégation croit vraiment beaucoup qu'il est très utile de rechercher toutes les possibilités qui pourraient permettre probablement d'économiser le temps des membres de l'organe de l'évaluation. Et nous croyons que l'option B, s'agissant de l'évaluation initiale par 2 ou 3 membres de l'organe de l'évaluation, permettrait justement d'économiser le temps de travail pour l'intégralité des membres de l'organe d'évaluation. Donc, on souhaiterait supporter cette proposition et on supporte justement la proposition faite par la délégation de la Pologne. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you very much. Kuwait to be followed by Germany. Kuwait, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Also, Kuwait would like to support the amendment submitted by Poland. And just to clarify that, the work will be done, the extensive work done by 3 experts, and will be raised to the evaluation body to endorse that recommendation. So we are, I think, this is, we have a trust in the evaluation body. That's 3 individuals, 3 experts. They'll do the extensive work, and the whole evaluation body will endorse that recommendation before they raise it to the committee. And I think this is also will save sometimes the load, that we are adding to the evaluation body. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Sorry, there's another overlook. Sorry, Colombia, it is your turn. Colombia, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And we would like also to join the support to Poland, because that was actually it was going to be our proposal. 3 members, taking into account that it's important in this particular case, since the elements are already inscribed and they have followed all the procedures. It's very important to have the perspective of the regional expert. 3 with an odd number also, we agree, and after to be revised by the whole of the evaluation body. We really believe that will alleviate the process for the rest. But also, and since we had all these discussions before, especially raised by Czechia, we really think that we have to start thinking maybe about alternatives of how to, because the evaluation body has too much workload, and we will have to think. And I believe we have certain aspects of an additional body or whatever in this platform, arm length platform, etc., or a support group or something, because maybe it is actually too much for the evaluation body, as actually Tim has said it many times. So I leave that. After that, maybe we can check it out on the questions that are in the document in paragraph 9, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. So we fully support this option. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now, Germany to be followed by Japan. Germany, please. Sorry, Germany, are you online?
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much, Chair, for giving me the floor. Germany supports the amendment submitted by Poland, and we think that the pre-evaluation of the 3 experts will lighten the workload, so we align with the proposal of Poland. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Japan to be followed by Slovakia. Japan, please.
Thank you, Chair. Japan is for the simplification of the process and therefore support the Poland amendment so that 3 experts examine the files. We were wondering, that would be for other discussion, but to add the ALTO criterion would be like not enlightening the process. And one more question maybe for the Secretariat on the register of good safeguarding practice, because this transfer is supposed to be written by the expert, as Austria has pointed out. And we were just wondering if it's not going to add other works to the expert. If it's not the case, it's fine. It's just a question. Thank you.
Okay, Tim is actually checking that point. So in the meantime, can I give the floor to Slovakia to be followed by Jamaica? Slovakia, please.
Thank you very much and good morning to everybody. I would maybe, having the experience of being a member and the chair of the evaluation body, I would like to raise the question of how do we think that choosing just 3 or 4 or 2 members of the evaluation body will enlighten the workload of everybody in the evaluation body, when we expect them to collectively discuss the proposals. That means that you can only collectively discuss something you are aware of and you read the file. So all of the members of the evaluation body have to actually read the files. This is my first question. And the second one is, if we are really expecting so many files to be requested to be transferred from one list to another, if this is such a workload expected for the evaluation body. And because let's remember how many requests we did have in the last years. And that's why Slovakia is actually in the position of supporting the Czech proposal, just to keep all of the evaluation body members of dealing with the files. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you very much. Let me now go to Jamaica and stop our discussion for the time being for clarifications. Now, Jamaica, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for allowing me to take the floor again. What has been proposed by Poland, supported by the others on the screen, to me represent a combination of what was proposed as A and B. So I think it covers and probably addresses to a large extent the concern expressed by the chair of the evaluation body. Jamaica would like to add its support to the proposal proposed by Poland. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, I would like to sort out the discussions at this moment. Now, okay, before that, yes, of course. There are several questions. Tim, please.
There was a question concerning the idea of the inclusion in the Register of Good Safeguarding Practices, and there were several comments on that, and I don't want to, but one specific question was to clarify what this meant when an expert, whether it's the evaluation body or NGO or arm's length, to draft the criteria-based justification to be confirmed by the state party. What it is, what the idea behind this is really that the evaluation of a good safeguarding plan could, and its successful removal could also be a reason to include that plan in order to have more on the good safeguarding, the register of safeguarding. And this idea, but nevertheless, somebody needs to assess whether the safeguarding plan is indeed in conformity with the criteria for being on the register of good safeguarding practice. I believe Austria mentioned this point. So here, and perhaps it could be from the evaluation body, but I want to reiterate what was said. The evaluation body is extremely overloaded, but that's a different discussion. So the idea here is, rather than take time to resubmit a file, the evaluation body, or if it's the arm's length platform or whoever, could decide that, listen, this is a good safe, when it's assessed, the transfer, could at the same time decide, yes, or in fact, this program to remove this element from the urgent safeguarding list is a good safeguarding practice, and therefore we will recommend to put it on the safeguarding list. That is what is meant there. That's it.
Okay, well, thank you very much for the clarification. Now, there are, as I said, there are three issues. The first issue is the number of evaluation body members to be engaged in this file. Now, as far as I can see, a number of countries have supported the Polish proposal, but on the other hand, there were at least two members here who say that the Polish suggestion does not really save time for the members of the evaluation body, and therefore they prefer to have option A. The entire membership of the evaluation body will look at this file right from the start. We have to make a decision on that one. Now, because observation was made from the chair of the evaluation body, it's a bit difficult for me to see. Usually, as a chair, I try to take positions supported by a large number of countries, but at the same time, you know, there was observation made by the chair of the evaluation body, that is very important. So I'm not really sure how we could solve this problem, honestly. But 3 countries have raised hands. Maybe they are, sorry? Okay, so 2 countries, two member states raised a hand. So I hope that they can help us out on this issue. And secondly, with the issue of the criteria, we have R2 in brackets, but I don't see any objection to other points contained here. So I would assume that with R2 in bracket, this is agreeable. And finally, nobody said anything against the inclusion of the register of good safeguarding practices, and therefore this part is also agreeable. So if my observation is accurate, then what we are talking about is the only first part of this, the number of evaluation body members involved. With that understanding, I'm looking for some help from the membership. And I would like to start with Kuwait to be followed by Brazil. Ambassador of Kuwait, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And also would like to thank, the Slovakia for their concerns, and their, she was the head of the evaluation body. It's just to, again, say that when, for the transfer, the files already been looked at, initially at the evaluation body as a whole. And it's a very common practice here, Mr. Chair, that we have in UNESCO and all UN bodies, an example also on the executive board, where we have items to be discussed in details, we delegate members of the board to go and to do the whole homework and to just look at it from different angles. And those people will come to the board and to give their final recommendation. And that's, how it's worked. This is not every member state goes to it. Otherwise, this will need, instead of 12 evaluation body, we will need, several hundreds, I think. So I'm urging our colleagues from Slovakia that those 3 will be chosen by the chair and the vice chairs of the evaluation bodies. And, those people, you have one from the regions, the three members to go to do the whole details evaluation. They will raise their recommendation. And I think, we should have a trust in the evaluation body that when they choose those 3 people, they have enough technical and enough expertise. From the beginning, we always, wanted to ensure the evaluation body in its role. And here, we are giving it more acknowledgement that it's a professional body. Those 3 people will do their, great job, and they will, raise their recommendation. And the board, if you see something in the recommendation, then they can open a discussion. So let's, give them the benefit of the doubt. Let's make the thing, the workload less. Because it's not needed, we believe, as a member state. I understand her, her concern, but to move forward, because Your Excellency, this will come again on the other part of the the next section that we're gonna discuss. We will have another. This text will come. So let's give it the benefit of the doubt, and I urge my 2 colleagues. I see a lot of people with this Poland, so if they can join the consensus, so we can move forward. I thank you, and sorry for taking a long time, Mr.
Thank you very much. Thank you, for good guidance. Brazil to be followed by Colombia. Brazil, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, just to say that we support the proposal of Poland, and we share entirely the comments of the Ambassador of Kuwait. Besides, I would like to add one point of reflection. I think that we must simplify the work of the evaluation body. Also because if we do not do so, we have the risk of giving too much work for a reduced number of experts, we can have the problem that a kind of problem that we or many of us have seen during the works of the World Heritage. That means too many files to be analyzed by a few people. And the result in certain situations was that the recommendations were not followed. Some recommendations of the evaluation bodies were not considered because some states had the impression that the evaluation couldn't be done in the right way, exactly because there were few people not enough to analyze the file. So if we do not find a solution in order to simplify the process, we risk to have this kind of context. I mean, a context in which the recommendations lose power because everybody knows that the situation for this evaluation is not the ideal one. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Colombia to be followed by Belgium. And let me stop there. Colombia, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And I will have to join the proposal made by His Excellency, the Ambassador of Kuwait, because although we really don't want to be, I mean, we really want to know what the evaluation body thinks and take their experience in account. It's true, something that the ambassador said that we have to be able perhaps to delegate, and thinking also about the complexity that these 3 extra procedures we are proposing in this document 6, we have to simplify the processes. So I don't know if the evaluation body agrees, but it's not, as the ambassador of Kuwait said, it's not the same to check something in detail and to debate and then make a recommendation that to everybody check in detail and everybody debate. I mean, we're talking about 12 people versus 3, so that maybe will actually alleviate the process. And we have to think that this is only one of the proposals. Of the other 2 we have also. So I think it's good, but I don't know if we have to give it further discussion with the evaluation body, or I don't know what will be then their input. But we really have, I insist, and as my colleague from Brazil said, we have to think how to simplify the process. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Belgium, please.
Okay. First, we would like to join the Polish position and also support this. I think it's a matter of trust, and there's still the option of opening a debate if necessary. So that's the first option. And I would like to repeat, because it was not on the screen, my proposal for U4 and R4 to delete that sentence of initially agreed, because there's the matter of time, people can die, but there's also a risk of freezing. If some group decides it has to stay like this, it's against the spirit of the convention. Intangible heritage evolves, and it's the communities and groups concerned that make a decision at a certain point in time. So please delete that word initially, because it can have strange effects.
Sorry, and now the question is, do we maintain, is this okay, consent from the concerned communities, groups, and individuals that had agreed to the inscription on the insert? That's okay, we leave that, right? That had agreed. We don't have to say same, but we say concerned. To make sure there's a correlation between the initial inscription. And that means if those communities evolve and change a bit, then it's not exactly the same. Would that be, is that in line with the proposal, or should the last part also be deleted? This is my question.
I would also delete it, but it's in our collective hands. I think concerned covers everything. If you interpret the word concerned in the right way, it covers also this initial idea. So I would propose to delete, I'd make it as simple as possible.
Okay.
So Belgium, delete the last part. Belgium. I know. Can I say something?
No, I don't want to. We are running out of time. Oh. Okay, let's go back to the numbers. The first point. We will, because what Belgium said, we will adopt it one by one. So can I just go back to the earlier part, the numbers of people, right? Now, we cannot go on talking about this for a long time. There are a lot more things coming. So I would like to try this formulation. If delegations have a problem with Polish suggestion, please say that. And if you don't have any problem with the Polish suggestion, just to support the Polish suggestion, then just say that in 10 seconds. 10 seconds. But if you are opposed to it, maybe it's pretty better for you to explain why. So on that basis, Saudi Arabia to be followed by the Netherlands. Saudi Arabia, please.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. In 10 seconds, Saudi Arabia supports the proposal by Poland.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your understanding. The Netherlands, sorry? Austria. Okay, Austria, please.
Thank you for giving me the floor. Coming back to this discussion, I think I fully support that we should trust the evaluation body. I think this is the most important point. And I also heard very well the very valid statement by the chair of the evaluation body, because if there is a final discussion, of course, all of the members have to get familiar with the issues to be discussed, and we might discuss what is the relief of the workload of the whole evaluation body. Of course, we can go with the consensus, but what we would like to make clear is that this applies, and we are discussing here only the transfer of the elements from the list, and this should not be taken as a precedent for anything, for any later discussion on the work of the evaluation body. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. This part applies only to transfer. Okay, Netherlands and Barbados. I would like to stop our discussion at this point. We are running out of time. So the Netherlands, please.
We fully understand the concerns by Slovakia, but I think due to the workload, we will support Poland in this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Barbados to be followed by Portugal, and I will stop there in any case. Okay, Barbados, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning to everyone. And Barbados just simply want to support the position put on the table by Poland. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And finally, Portugal, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In the 10 seconds, yes, we are also convinced. We support option B with the amendment by Poland. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Given the discussions we have had, with all due respect, I would like to come back to the two delegations which had a different view on that, particularly the honorable representative of Slovakia as chair of the evaluation body. Can I just ask two delegations if they can go along with the consensus here?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Concerning Czech Republic, of course, we are always for consensus. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Chair of the evaluation body, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Of course, I think the evaluation body will try to cope with this decision and discuss it anyway. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your understanding. And I hope that the evaluation body will have a somewhat reduced burden from this. Thank you very much. Okay, let me conclude our discussions on this part and then move on to the criteria. Now, with a suggestion from Belgium, criteria R4 was reformulated. And with that, can I just go back to Belgium first? I understand that this formulation, although you may have some further comments, but I understand that your formulation, this formulation is also fine for you. So
it's fine for me, but I think it can be shorter, but it's fine for me.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your understanding. So with that, there has been no other points raised on those simplified, reduced number of criteria. So can I assume that this part is agreeable? Yeah, except R2, of course. R2 is in bracket, but otherwise. Okay, no hand raised. Thank you very much. And finally, good practices. Okay, inscription in the register of good safeguarding practices. This part has met no opposition. Would it be possible to assume that there is no opposition to this and therefore agreeable on that one? Okay, Austria, I understand, I was reminded that Austria had some concerns about this part, but right now I don't see any hand raised. Okay, we have Switzerland. Switzerland, please.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Comme ça a été mentionné par la déléguée de l'Autriche, nous avons une préoccupation par rapport au fait qu'il pourrait y avoir deux catégories d'éléments inscrits dans le registre des bonnes pratiques de sauvegarde. À ce titre, il serait nécessaire que les critères soient précisés, les critères sur lesquels l'expert pourrait recommander cette inscription facilitée sur le registre des bonnes pratiques. C'est le premier point. Et le deuxième point qui nous paraît important, c'est que la justification qui serait faite sur la base de ces critères soit confirmée par l'État partie et aussi par les communautés. Et dans ce sens, nous proposerions un amendement qui est le suivant, à la dernière phrase, cette justification devant ensuite être confirmée par l'État partie et par les communautés, groupes et le cas échéant individus concernés. Ça nous paraît essentiel dans le cadre d'une procédure facilitée que nous comprenons très bien pour augmenter le nombre d'éléments sur le registre des bonnes pratiques. C'est certainement une bonne chose, mais il est essentiel que les communautés soient partie prenante de ce processus et confirment leur consentement. Merci pour votre attention.
Okay, Mr. Tim.
Yeah, thank you, and I thank the delegate from Switzerland for their input. Indeed, this can easily be done because the concerned community groups and where appropriate individuals must consent to the initial transfer request, and they could also give their consent at the same time to the inclusion on the register, should it be. When we say criteria-based justification to be confirmed by the state party and the concerned community, it is indeed intended to be the same criteria, but I remind you that there's also going on a broader reflection on Article 18, which is now, we've generously received a proposal for sponsorship from Sweden, and I thank them profoundly for that. And therefore, we didn't want to go into the details of the criteria here, but with the assumption that it is the same criteria. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And if that clarification is acceptable to the membership here, I would like to see if there is an agreement, there is a consensus about this particular part, the register of good safeguarding practices. Is any delegation having any problem with this? Okay, no hand raised. Thank you very much. So let me now move on. Sweden and China. Okay. Let me say one thing. Because this is good safeguarding practices, good practices. Because Sweden has offered to finance the process ahead, and it's not absolutely necessary for us to come to an agreement on this particular point. And therefore, if debates get complicated, perhaps I want to remove this part from our consideration today. So with that in mind, Sweden to be followed by China. Sweden, please.
Yes, hello. Sorry, I just wanted to support the suggestion of Switzerland and make it very short. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. Now, China, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. My delegation actually does not have problem with this paragraph, but the reason I'm raising hand is to just want to make clear one question regarding this paragraph. According to the wording of this paragraph, the evaluation body may recommend to include some good practice into the register from the transfer from the urgent safeguarding list to the representative list. My question is that, does this paragraph indicate any other possibility or any other cases other than this one? So this is, I would just want some clarifications on this point. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tim, please.
Thank you, and I thank the honourable delegate from China for her question. And indeed, I must say, no, it does not indicate other possibilities. My understanding, and perhaps the wording is, this is a sort of application when an element has shown to be properly safeguarded because of its inclusion on the urgent safeguarding list and now going to another list at the same time, that could be used. This is not another way into the register, if you will, than that. That does not stop, of course, and we encourage states to submit nominations to the Register of Good Safeguarding Practices through the normal process. Does that answer the question? I think.
So, Mr. Curtis, you mean that for the current state, only those practices from the transfer
yes,
can be recommended into the register for the time?
Indeed, because the evaluation of them happens at the moment. There is an evaluation of the effectiveness and of the plan that goes on in order to assess the transfer, right? So that evaluation could be used to see if this can also serve as a good safeguarding practice. That is the logic behind it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And then can I also try again? I see some more hands. Okay. Okay, I think we have a bit less than 10 minutes to conclude this part, including paragraph 9. That is what it is. So we have 2 hands raised, but can you try to be as concise as possible, or we are running out of time? So Poland to be followed by? No, Poland. Okay, Poland, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Very quickly, Poland wishes to support the amendment proposed by Switzerland and Sweden, and support the whole idea of the inclusion of the safeguarding practices into the good safeguarding register after the process of improving the element when threatened. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. So can I assume that this part is agreeable to all? Okay, I don't see any hand raised. Thank you very much. This part is agreed. That's the end of step 2. And step 3. Well, this is a very straightforward part, but is there any opposition to what is written there? Yeah, of course. Well, the clarification is made in relation to the Register of Good Safeguarding Practices, and we will bracket the part the arm's length platform up to NGO forum. Okay, with that, can I just ask if this part is agreeable? Belgium, please.
I think here we also have to include the communities, groups, and individuals. It's not only the state party. Is that what we decided before?
Yes, indeed. Well, the Secretariat is going to do this anyway for fine-tuning. So to save time, can I just move on? So with that addition, is there any delegation which has opposition to what is said here? Okay, no hand raised. Thank you very much. So let me now move on to paragraph 9, as promised earlier. So I would like to open the floor for comments. Paragraph 9. Okay, Colombia, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, yet again. So we have a few comments. The first, regarding the first question about the transfer from one list to another. And because before I was actually raising the hand to speak about the comment from China, that, okay, one way can be this transfer from list to list to include some new practices on the register of the safeguarding, good safeguarding practices. Then also we can think about having in our periodic report, the states could actually recommend maybe also some of them of their practices of other elements to that register. And then again, in the third place, we really have to simplify then the other way we are using normally that we discussed last time, or not having that way and having it in these new forms. I think we should have the three probably. So that's just an idea raised by this question. Also regarding the multinational, the question B, by the multinational inscriptions, there can be differences when, depending the context of the places of the countries. In some countries, the element can be actually in a situation of urgency of safeguarding and the others not. So that's a reality we will have to deal with. And in that sense, what we could do, because I know it's different, I mean, it's difficult to put the whole element of the whole nations from one list to another. One solution that could be it's to actually increase or tackle, I think we say in English. No, not tackle. Okay, I have no idea. How to promote safeguarding practices in cooperation between different countries. For example, good practices that have worked in one country to apply in the other, and like this, maybe have joint safeguarding practices that can help with the international cooperation in the frame of the convention. And that will be it. Thank you. Oh, and we can also think about if the only evaluation body that is now, it's enough for all this extra work. That is something that we also discussed the last time. And I think we really have to give it a further discussion. Thank you.
Okay, there are several points contained, but I'd like to ask Tim to clarify some.
No, I thank the delegate from Colombia for raising important and interesting questions, but I think we actually have a recommendation for another reflection process on the broader implementation of Article 18 and the many ways we could look at having a broader implementation of Article 18. So I think these matters can be discussed in that context. For the evaluation body matters, they keep coming up and they will come up, and let's see where they come, but I just wanted to make that point. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, who else? Czechia? Okay, Czechia to be followed by Kazakhstan. Czechia, please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Nous avons un doute, en fait, en ce qui concerne l'étape 3. L'examen, si on lit, la demande de transfert est examinée par le comité dans l'année suivante, sa soumission par l'État partie. Et en ce qui concerne le transfert de la liste représentative vers la liste de sauvegarde urgente, la demande de transfert est examinée par le comité la même année de sa soumission par l'État partie. Mais si dans le step 1, étape 1, nous avons dit que cette demande de transfert sera faite avec le rapport de periodic reporting le 15 décembre, ça ne peut pas être la même année. Est-ce qu'on comprend mal quelque chose? J'espère que je me fais bien comprendre, mais je pense que le texte a été préparé pour l'option où dans le rapport périodique, l'État indique sa volonté de soumettre la demande de transfert, mais maintenant la demande de transfert est faite avec le rapport périodique et ça se fait le 15 décembre de l'année en question. Donc la même année, le comité ne peut pas examiner et évaluer la demande. Mais peut-être nous ne comprenons pas bien, on voulait juste clarifier. Merci. Donc, c'est notre question. Merci.
Okay, Mr. Curtis, can you clarify?
Yeah, I think I understand. This is a consequence of the amendments. What we need is the next cycle. So we just, where is it? The transfer request is examined in, no, yes, I understand what you're saying now. In the next cycle from which it is submitted by the committee, of course, because this was in the same cycle. Yeah, I understand, because it's now submitted 2 weeks or during the committee or just after the committee. So in the next cycle. Yeah, that's it. And then take all the rest out. Because if we have a committee starting after the 15th of December, that would mean it has to be in the same year. You're right. This, may I just assure that even these are recommendations, we'll have to draft operational directives, and we will be looking also with the legal support to make sure these things are fine-tuned, and they will be presented at the committee, so these kinds of errors still have a chance to pick up. So, but you're right, we have to find the right language there. The next cycle is the intention, and it's changed because it's no longer 31st of March. Thank you. But again, this is a recommendation. We will then come with draft operational directives that correspond to it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Kazakhstan, please.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I am a bit lost now after this very thorough comment and corrigendum made by our respected colleague from Czech. I thought that you already invited us to move to the paragraph 9. Is it correct, or I should wait a bit?
No, it's paragraph 9. The suggestion from Czechia was in fact a result of the changes that we made earlier. So we passed that stage. We are paragraph 9. Yes.
No. I'm highly appreciating the input of Czechia because she indicated a very important mistake. Thank you very much, Chairperson. And since, sorry that it is my first intervention, I would also to join to all compliments to yourself and to Secretariat. And I strongly believe that Ambassador Oitisan, your master skills will successfully navigate this ponderous and sometimes even bulky ship to a desired peaceful harbor. So about point 9, our delegation have just 2 comments about the first item A. In our opinion, the need to transfer from the urgent safeguarding list to representative list is a great success of the state party and the Convention 2003 itself. So it should be treated above the approved annual sailing. And probably a certain amount can be highlighted within the Intangible Cultural Heritage Fund to secure the extra workload, because we don't think that it would be a lot of requests for any year. Unfortunately, it's not so many. And about the point B, in case of multinational inscriptions, in our opinion, this issue should be settled between the nominating states parties and in coordination with Secretariat before submitting the requests. The same as the state parties are coordinating when they prepare multinational nomination, they can discuss the issue if it arises. And then they, knowing very well the elements, the substance of the element and its practice in their countries, they may find the appropriate solution beforehand, not necessary raising these issues to the committee. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, sorry for taking time. Well, I was just wondering what to do. But let me just hear Portugal first before making observations. Portugal, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Very briefly on point 9, the first bullet, we pretty much agree with the previous speaker. Indeed, we believe that these requests should not be treated as part of the annual ceiling for the reasons already pointed out. Regarding point B, we find it difficult to, in a way, to split an element, a multinational element inscribed for this purpose, as together several state parties inscribed an element in an urgent safeguarding list. They together should be in cooperation able to promote the success of the plan of safeguarding and get to a point where a collective request for transfer can be made. That will be our preliminary comments on these 2 points or questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me, because we have to finish our session now, let me say 2 things. First of all, paragraph B, as have been said, this is very unusual. So perhaps we have to, people concerned need to discuss it before they apply for the transfer. So we don't need to produce any particular results on paragraph B. On A, that's not necessarily the case. We have to decide whether this should be outside of annual ceiling or not. And if this is outside, extra workload issue will come out inevitably from the point of view of the Secretariat and the evaluation body. And therefore, because I have to finish now, let's continue our discussions on A this afternoon. But B, perhaps we'll leave it here. So with that, I have to finish the morning session. And well, I would like to welcome you back at 3. Can I have a minute? Okay, so we will meet again at 2:30. Thank you very much.